Hi, Kevin Coupe here, and this is FaceTime with the Content Guy. So, recently I had to go to a family wedding down in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it was a really terrific experience, not least of which is there's nothing like spending time with people you love in a situation where there's nothing but unmitigated joy, and that was just fabulous. But the interesting thing, one of the other interesting things was we were in Charlotte, North Carolina, a city I quite frankly don't know that well, and there were at least a couple of unexpected things that happened that I thought I would share with you. One is that I had absolutely no idea, none at all, that Charlotte, North Carolina turns into New Orleans, at least on Friday and Saturday nights in a specific section called the Epicenter. I mean, I'm not kidding. It turns into New Orleans, into the wee morning hours. There's people laughing, people singing, people talking, people drinking, people partying. I mean, there's music. It's unbelievable. I mean, I was just shocked. Yeah, it was just amazing to me how much was going on. Now, my 22-year-old son, he was also a little amazed by it. I think he was a little bit surprised when at one point he was going up the elevator of the Loft Hotel in downtown Charlotte, and he was propositioned by a hooker. Now, he told me all about this, and he explained to his mother and me that he was very polite, that he explained to her that he was not really interested in her company, but that he did inquire as to how much she was charging, and she told him $300, and I was, I had to laugh about this, and he said, "Hey, Dad, I was just doing market research." Chip off the old block, I think. Anyway, the other thing we found very interesting in Charlotte was on Friday night. The Friday night we were there before the rehearsal reception. It was pouring rain, and I'm talking pouring rain, cats and dogs. You think it's time to build an ark. That's how bad it was. So my son and I decided to go to the movies. And we went to this theater right by the hotel in the Epicenter called the Epicenter Theaters. And this place was amazing. It was extraordinary. First of all, it was luxurious in a way you very rarely find movie theaters. You actually got to choose your seat, right? You didn't just get a ticket and find a seat. You could pick your seat out from the computer before you went into the theater. Then we go upstairs. There's a couple of bars. There's an enormous restaurant. You can order pretty much anything you want. You go to the chairs, which are the biggest movie theater chairs I've ever seen in my life, and there's like tables in between them, so you can bring your food and drink and enjoy them while you're watching the movie. I mean, it was unbelievable. What was the cost of a ticket? $10. It was exactly the same as I normally pay back home. Clearly, they're making a lot of money on the food service portion of it. This was an amazing place. In fact, my son and a friend of his, they went back that evening after the reception, not because they wanted to go to the movies, but they just thought, this would be a great place to people watch and have a drink and having something to eat. And they said it was just amazing. I suspect they were enticed by the fact that the waitresses were scantily clad, and there was women in bathing suits or bikinis twirling around on ropes at the top, up in the rafters or something. But they were really, they thought this was pretty amazing. And I know as I was sitting there in the theater watching a movie I didn't particularly like, I was completely absorbed in the entire experience. And I thought to myself, that's really important, isn't it? That whether or not I like the movie, I'm coming back because this is such an interesting and differentiated place. And that's a great lesson for all retailers, right? That, very often you can't just depend on the stuff you have on the shelves or in the racks or in the coolers or wherever it happens to be your differentiator, because a lot of people will have the same thing. You have to depend on the experience. It's the minor league stadium example we used a couple of weeks ago. If the experience is differentiated enough, and I don't mean just luxurious, just different enough, you can have a distinct advantage over the competition. And if you don't invest in giving your place of business a distinctive personality, you're giving away that advantage to someone else. And I'm not sure that in this environment, the economy being what it is, customers dealing with the issues that they're dealing with, that any of us can ever way to give away an advantage. Anyway, that is what is on my mind this morning, and as always, I'd like to hear what's on your mind.